Today is week number 5 of my garden tours. I've tried for the past 4 days to do this video, and for one reason or another, one was it was too hot and my phone kept overheating so I couldn't record it. Another was my next door neighbors were having a party, so it was too loud, and then there was construction a couple of streets over and the background noise was again too loud. So hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to take you on this tour today. First up is my radishes. A bunny has gotten up on the porch and gone right through. It fits right through the little cages, so it has eaten all the tops off of my radishes. I was hoping to get some seed pods out of that, but that does not look like it's going to happen now. So I'm probably just going to pull this all up and put a little bit more compost in it and plant something else. My strawberries are pretty much done. I've gotten just a couple more. I've got one more in there that is starting to turn red. Other than that, they're done for the season. I'm going to have to look up what you're supposed to do to save these for next year once they're in a container. I'm not really sure if I just bring the container into a cool area or what, but figured I would give it a try and see what happens. The super sweet on the deck is doing okay. I did notice that I've got some leaves changing here. I don't know if it's a deficiency or blight, so I have to look that up. I did have the bunny come up and take a couple of bites out of some leaves. Must have decided that tomatoes didn't taste very good, so hopefully the bunny will be not eating the tomatoes for a while. But look at these. Aren't they great? Look how pretty that looks. I moved my lavender and mint up on the steps here just so that it was closer to me. I did thin out the mint quite a bit more and it's doing a little bit better. Alright, beans and potatoes mostly. So the Uncle Willie's is doing okay right now. I took the trellis away because it doesn't need it. I realized that that is not a pole variety. It is bush variety. It's not a pole variety. So I took the trellis away. I think I just got trellis happy. The next one is the chocolate runner. It is making its way up. Looks very good. Are the provider beans, and they have beautiful purple, two-toned purple flowers. They're really pretty. Then I have potatoes, and the potatoes are all doing really well. The round zucchini is sharing a spot with the red Malabar spinach. Red Malabar spinach has finally added some leaves on this past week. It seemed to really like the 90-degree weather and rain, so it shot up suddenly. I think I might have to take out at least one of these zucchini squashes because I don't think the 5-gallon bucket is big enough for 2 of them. Then I have this saffron squash here. Looks like, is there 2 in there? Yep, there's 2 in there, so I'll have to pull out one of those too. Probably this one. It looks like the smallest one. It's sharing with the tiny little cucamelon. That looks still very small, but eventually it'll climb right up onto this little red trellis. The bush pickles are doing well. They've got lots of flowers on them. They are turning a little light green, so they might have an issue with nitrogen. Might be time to fertilize them again. Then I have flowers on my peanut plants. How exciting is that? From what I read, it starts with flowers, and then once the flowers are gone, the plant will send out these peduncles, I think is what it's called. It's like a little shoot or vein or root, I guess if you want to call it. It goes into the soil, and that's where the peanut will grow. So every flower, I believe, is where the little shoots go into the ground, and they're purple. I don't see any offhand. Keep my eye on it, and update as I see it. I have had to do a little bit more work in protecting the garden. At first I just had the fencing that goes top to bottom. It's just the wide critter fencing, and that kept out the woodchucks. Unfortunately, woodchucks had babies, and I thought that they were coming into the garden, so we got some chicken wire and we put chicken wire in the bottom half. But then I had more issues of something eating stuff in my garden, and come to find out it was a little bunny. So the bunny could slip right through those tiny little holes in the chicken wire. So I put up bird netting because I had it on hand and it's what I could think of. So the bird netting kept the bunny from going through the fence, but unfortunately the bunny started digging under the fence. So I spent all day Friday morning cutting up chicken wire to go on the bottom. I know I need to staple it into the ground. I don't really want to dig it into the ground, but I'll staple it in using ground staples, and hopefully that will be too much of a deterrent that he'll look elsewhere. But look how green everything looks. Very exciting. My Pickler's Pride cucumber is still doing well. It is reaching above the little trellis I made. I've gotten a couple of cucumbers out of it. Not enough to pickle them at one time, so we've just been eating them as cucumbers. I tried a little experiment and had some leftover pickle juice from the store-bought pickles and just shoved 3 of my little Pickler's Pride cucumbers in it, so we'll see if that works. I have no idea, but we'll try it. The cucamelons are finally growing and trellising, and they've got these most beautiful teeny tiny little itty bitty curly Q tendrils on them. They're so cute. Once they get going though, they're kind of hard to control, so I'm thinking that these buckets will probably end up having to stay here, so I won't be able to take them out and weed around it because they're reaching out to the fence every single day, and every single day I have to come out here and pull them off. So we'll see what happens for that. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to be the little teeny tiny fruit for the cucamelon. It's just so little. I mean, look how small that is. Can't wait. And look at these tendrils. Oh, there's a little itty bitty fruit, and it's going to flower. Isn't that cute? That's what it looks like. That's how small. Can't wait. So excited. The 4 California Wonders that I planted, I started these back in, I think it was March. They look pretty good. The only one with a flower on it so far is this one right here, the tallest one. I must have planted this one first. Look, isn't that cute? It's growing. Yay! Next is the watermelon and nasturtium. My nasturtium is finally blooming, guys. And look how pretty it is. Isn't that gorgeous? So excited. That I was looking. The benefits of having this video 3 days later than what I originally planned is that, guess what happened? Look at that. It's a teeny tiny little itty bitty watermelon. How exciting is that? There's another little watermelon. Hopefully that'll get pollinated when the flower opens, so that I'll have at least 2, one from each plant. These are the Fruition mix cherry tomatoes that I got from Fruition Seeds. These were a very old mix. I think about, I say very old, it was about 5 years old. I am pleased to see though that my guess looks like it was right. I think I picked 2 different types of seed. So I didn't want to grow gobs of tomatoes because I didn't have a lot of space to put them in right now. So I wanted to make sure, or try, to grow a couple different kinds, and the seeds were all mixed up, so it's not like you can tell which ones are which. So I knew that there was, I think, 4 different kinds of cherry tomatoes in the cherry tomato mix. I just didn't know which seeds were which, so I'm pleasantly surprised to see that I at least have 2 different kinds. How exciting is that? And these are heirloom varieties, so I can save the seeds on these. Well, I could have. If I catch any of these that aren't blooming yet, I could. But I think it's too late for these. It's definitely too late for these because I don't know what they got pollinated with. I can still keep them, but they just wouldn't be the same as the tomato I'm going to get this year. The 2 squashes are Honey Nut and Gouda, and they're very close to having buds on them. Very, very close. I'm toying with the idea of getting one of those big trellises and trellising them up instead of out, because I don't have a lot of walkway room, so I might do that. Here is the pumpkin and the delicious tomato, and since last week when I hand pollinated the pumpkin, look how much it's grown. I think I'm gonna get a bag and some sort of mesh and just hold it up so that it doesn't hang so low and it can be supported. But how exciting is that? Yay! And this was just a science experiment. This thing started as just a science experiment to teach the kids about germination and seeds and all the different parts of seeds and things like that. And this is what we've gotten out of it. So how exciting is it that it actually grew to fruit? Yay, I hope I can actually keep it alive and actually harvest it. It's a wild bee. My camera continues to overheat, so I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible and hope that I can actually finish the video. If not, I'll just try to maybe do smaller videos throughout the week and post those instead. Alright, at the far end here, I have peas, and we've been harvesting the little pea shoots off of those all week long, which are just wonderful. They're delicious. I've grown to like them quite a bit. I have them in 4 different spots. So there's one in the corner that's fighting with the tomato that's planted there. I originally had planted the peas, but the peas didn't come up, so I assumed that they weren't going to germinate. They were old seeds, so I figured, that's okay, I'll just put my tomatoes there because I ran out of space for my tomatoes. I had so many that actually sprouted that I wanted to plant them all. So I planted a tomato there, and then all of a sudden the peas, of course, germinated. So I figured, let's see what happens. And believe it or not, there's a couple of tomatoes on that tomato plant. I don't suspect that it'll do great things, but I figured I'd let them try, see what happens. So the tomatoes down here are all looking good. Every single one of them have fruit. Believe it or not, I have went through and pulled off suckers several times. I've even trimmed off a ton of leaves to improve some air circulation. They're just getting so big that I need to do it again just to let the plants air out, especially when it starts raining like it has been and been so humid. It's important that they get air, especially to those lower areas. So, but I definitely have tomatoes growing. Very exciting. So this one over here is Queen Elizabeth. This is the one that got topped when it was just little. It's a super sweet 100, but I gave it a try anyway, and this just shows you how resilient sometimes plants can be. It's the same exact size as the one that was growing at the same exact time that didn't get topped. So both of these are super sweet 100s, and they're doing great. Look at those tiny little, yay! Those aren't even the biggest ones that I have. So the bigger ones are down below. Can't wait, can't wait. The next one is the Totally Tomato, and Totally Tomato is a determinate variety, I found out. So I've been plucking off suckers that I probably shouldn't have, because that's all the tomatoes this one's ever gonna get. So that is kind of sad that I figured that out a little too late, but that's okay. This one is a delicious tomato, and I've got some tomatoes in there. It's very exciting. Then the early girl is finally starting to catch up. It's growing up just a little bit. That's exciting to see, and it has blossoms. Then we have another delicious tomato. And then I think this one on the end is another fruition mix. So it's kind of tiny to begin with. So hopefully I'll get something out of it. Right there are Lucas's beans. That was another part of the experiment, our science experiment back in March, and it's clearly done very well. We've harvested a couple handfuls of beans already, and they're still growing nice and strong, so I suspect we'll get more. This is the Czech black pepper. These are all from Pat. These peppers here are all from Pat, so I call these Pat's peppers. Pat's peppers are doing great. This one is a Czech black. I'm not even sure at what point I'm supposed to pick it. It is a hot pepper. I think I can pick it now, but I believe they get hotter as they stay on the plant. So I'm gonna have to check with Pat and look them up and see when I'm supposed to pick those. This one is just a sweet pepper from Pat's Peppers. You can see him. See that little guy? Isn't he nice size? It's got a couple more blooms on it too. Then we have the Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt doesn't have any fruit on it yet. Well, it has teeny tiny ones, but nothing too big. Then the purple pepper, again, doesn't have any fruit yet. It does have tiny little buds, but no fruit. Then I have the Mountaineer sweet pepper, which has tiny little fruit. The next biggest, fruit-wise, is the sweet banana pepper. It has a couple of them already. That's very exciting. These two are the ones that I grew. This one is another California Wonder, and this one is the Yellow Monster. They both have some small blooms on them. It looks like that one might actually have some fruit. What's interesting to note is the only peppers that have shown any kind of pest stress at all is the Yellow Monster. Isn't that kind of crazy? I don't know why that's the only one that the pests seem to like, but it is. Here's another beautiful pea tangle, and we've just been pulling them off just like that and eating them. They're really good. I have been diligently watching my ground cherry, because once these little ground cherries are ripe, that's why they call them ground cherries, these little things will fall off onto the ground once they're ripe, and that's how you know that they're ripe, is they just fall off. I can't wait to try it. This one's a pineapple ground cherry. It is huge. I don't know if I should cut it back a little bit to maintain the space, or if it's just gonna be kind of wild and crazy, but we'll see. I've even got more on this side. Can't wait. The eggplant is kind of getting a little pushed out by the ground cherry, but look at that, it's got something going. I can't wait. Happy little eggplant for now. Remember those strawberries that I had planted? I purchased them for Mother's Day, a big planter for my mom, and pulled off the little runners because I figured that, I just plant them and see what happens. I didn't think that they would bloom in the first year, but look at them. They're really pretty. They're just beautiful. Okay, I've got lots of what looks like blank space here. That used to be where the beets and bolting kale, bolting spinach, and there was lettuce here, but the bunny got to it, so it was looking kind of bad, really scraggly. So I yanked it all up and planted all different varieties of lettuce, and some of them are starting to come up. I'll talk more about those varieties as they come up. And I'm pleased to see that my kale that the bunny ate down to a nub is recovering. Yay! Cabbages are doing well, just leafy at this point. I have picked off a couple little cabbage worms. The birds seem to do a pretty good job when it's in the sun. This one's in the sun that the birds can see a little bit better. So they've done a little bit better job of picking off the little worms. So I think I might move this one out to where it's not underneath the leaves of the pumpkin plant so that the birds can see it and pick off those little pesky little caterpillars. Same thing with the graffiti. The graffiti cauliflower is doing well, just very, very leafy. My dill is still growing. I keep pulling them off. I planted some peas in the bottom just to see what happens. I've got some rainbow Swiss chard here. It's only got a couple of red. It's mostly yellow, it looks like. Isn't that funny? Then my salad greens are finally popping up and looking wonderful. They loved the last couple days of thunderstorms that we had. So these are nice tender greens. I might plunk these off. This pot is really funny. Here's another one of those stories that I had placed kale seeds in here and they didn't do anything. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I put a little bit of lettuce seed in here. And guess what? Looks like both of them are coming up now. So that's really funny. I'll probably just let them duke it out and see what happens. Because there is the blue leaf kale or blue curly kale, and then I think red salad leaf lettuce. So we'll see. Then my beans, they look good. I can't remember which one is which. I have to go back to my other videos because my tags are not staying. The sun is just bleaching them right out. So it didn't work. I know that that one is the sequoia. This purpley looking one. I just can't. I think this one is provider bean. Yeah, that's what that one is. It's provider bean and the sequoia. They both look very good. And over here is my delicious tomato, the Romanesco broccoli, and I can't remember which squash it was. Let's see if the tag still says. Yep, it's a honey nut squash, and the honey nut